to bring us to the end of this, you have to forgive me and take a second, because I'm just going to go over this last paragraph of his, where he ended in this essay, in this lecture. Because I feel like every word that he writes, at least in this last paragraph, besides being incredibly important for our time and our age today, is incredibly important for teachers specifically, you, me, and every other teacher, but also important for the students who have to deal with these teachers. So he says, I began by saying that one of the paradoxes of education was that precisely at the point when you begin to develop a conscience, you must find yourself at war with your society. It's your responsibility to change society if you think of yourself as an educated person. And on the basis of evidence, the moral and political evidence, one is compelled to say that this is a backward society. Now, if I were a teacher in this school, or any black school, and I was dealing with black children who were in my care only a few hours of every day and would then return to their homes and to the streets, children who have an apprehension of their future with which every hour grows grimmer and darker, I would try to teach them. I would try to make them know that those streets, those houses, those dangers, those agonies by which they are surrounded are criminal. I would try to make each child know that these things are the results of criminal conspiracies to destroy him. I would teach him that if he intends to get to be a man, he must at once decide that he is stronger than this conspiracy, and that he must never make peace with it. And that one of the weapons for refusing to make peace with it and for destroying it depends on what he decides he is worth. I would teach him that there are currently very few standards in this country which are worth a man's respect. Shout out Instagram. That is up to him to begin to change these standards for the sake of the life and the health of the country. I would suggest to him that the popular culture, as represented, for example, on television and in comic books and in movies, is based on fantasies created by very ill people. And he must be aware that these are fantasies that have nothing to do with reality. I would teach him that the press he reads is not as free as it says it is, and that he can do something about that too. I would try to make him know that just as American history is longer, larger, and more various, more beautiful, or more terrible than anything anyone has ever said about it, so is the world larger and more daring, more beautiful and more terrible, but principally larger, and that it belongs to him. I would teach him that he doesn't have to be bound by the experiences of any given administration, any given policy, any given time, that he has the right and the necessity to examine everything. I would try to show him that that one has not learned anything about Castro when one says he is a communist. This is a way of not learning something about Castro, something about Cuba, something in fact about the world. I would suggest to him that he is living at the moment in an enormous province. America is not the world. And if America is going to become a nation, she must find a way, and this child must help her to find a way, to use the tremendous potential and tremendous energy which this child represents. If this country doesn't find a way to use that energy, it will be destroyed by that energy. And I was like, all right, I couldn't really end it any other way. I couldn't really put it in any better words. I can't really outdo Baldwin's words, and I don't think it's worth even trying to. But he makes the point about as well as a person could possibly make it. That there's a responsibility on the part of teachers who are dealing with black and brown children, and then there's a responsibility on the part of not just teachers, but quote unquote educated peoples, black and brown educated peoples, that you're principally, if nothing else, your job is to change the conditions that confirm, exacerbate, and continue and perpetuate your oppression, to change those. And that the first step towards changing those is informing and educating a whole generation of young people that this isn't right, that it's not just normal, that it's not just history, that it didn't just happen, and it's not okay for particular groups of people on planet Earth to suffer at the hands of another group. That's not normal. And that it can be undone. It can be stopped. It can be changed. If only you would dedicate your education, and if only you dedicate your intellect and your time and your energies, as he puts it, to those causes, to those concerns. That's to say, not political concerns, not social concerns, not whether or not I'm a leftist or a rightist or whatever else, or all of those things, but concerns for your fellow human being, fam. The concerns for the well-being of your fellow human being. For the 7.7 however many billion people is on planet Earth, who by and large suffer and struggle on a daily basis to provide the wealth and the opportunities that we have in the quote unquote West. And that those people, especially those people who exist within the confines of quote unquote black and brownness in the West, and consider themselves educated at least to a degree, have a special responsibility to make sure that generation is raised fully in the awareness that this isn't correct and it doesn't have to go on. It's not natural, and we can do something about it.